recording?
Yep, we're
All
good.
right. So, Tim, how are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well. I heard you're having issues with photosynthesis.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it.
You don't know much about it, so you guys are just starting?
We're just starting photosynthesis.
Okay. So it's a way of plants from converting light energy into glucose. Basically, is what it is. So there's two different stages of photosynthesis. You got the light dependent. And then you got the light independent.
Okay.
Now the light independent also has another name for it. It's the Kelvin cycle. Have you ever heard of the Kelvin cycle?
A little bit.
A little bit. So you have a little bit of knowledge about the Kelvin cycle.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start out the light dependent. I'm going to go further into it. Right now I'm just going to kind of give you a gist of what you're expecting.
Sounds
So
good.
this requires photons, but those come from the sun. Sunlight. That's why it's light dependent. It requires the sun or the sun's light. Now, it captures energy from that photon. And then uses several light harvesting complexes to do this, and we'll go over them in a minute.
Okay.
And then it also uses the photon, or it basically uses that photon to make ATP and NADPH.
I know about those.
You know ATP and NADPH?
Yes.
That's because organisms like ourselves, animals, use that as a form of energy. And then we have the light independent reaction, which does not need light. I'm going to go no need light.
All right.
But it needs the byproducts from the light reaction. So it needs the byproducts from the light independent or light dependent.
Okay. It needs.
And it's going to need the ATP and the NADPH.
I remember ATP as being energy.
It is. It's a form of energy that it's a form of energy that cells can make.
Okay.
And they use it to do several different things. And the ATP and the NADPH that it makes that is converted into organic molecules from CO2.
Okay.
Go ahead. All right, so now we're going to go into the more photosynthesis itself. Photosynthesis itself I didn't come prepared today, did I, Tim?
No, it's okay. Your hands. No, yeah.
All right, so photosynthesis, you're going to have 6 CO2s.
All right.
You're going to have 12 H2Os, 12 water molecules. And then you're going to have light. And that's going to be converted into glucose and 6 waters and 6 oxygen, right?
Nice reaction.
You like that? So it's conversion of light energy or photons from light energy, and it's used to create glucose. Now there's also a scientific way we can write this. Basically what happens is it's taken CO2 and then it's taken photons, I'm going to say light, and it's actually converting that into simple or carbohydrates or simple sugars. And then it's also taking in or releasing oxygen. Oxygen is very critical for us.
Yes.
So plants are very critical for us also. Now, those photons are used to excite the chlorophyll, and the excited electron from the chlorophyll goes to a higher energy state. And once it gets to that higher energy state, it starts going back to a lower energy state.
Okay.
Now that lower energy state, the energy that's lost in between the high energy and the low energy state, the energy is used to produce ATP and NADPH. That's used to create carbohydrates. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right, so we'll go to the next step. Now, the light independent reactions it uses light energy to make two molecules needed for the Kelvin cycle, ATP and NADPH. The Kelvin cycle is also that light independent reaction.
Okay.
Now, photosystems. Now, here's going to be, this all takes place in what? The thylakoid, you said?
The thylakoid.
The thylakoid.
Oh, okay.
And then it goes across the thylakoid membrane.
Yes.
So what's going to happen is we'll have this thylakoid membrane here, right? I'm just going to create a bunch of lipids.
Ooh.
And I'm going to create this thing here. And then we'll have more lipids.
Lipid bilayer. Mm.
And then you're going to have another little thing right here. All right, so I just want to take a look at my notes real quick again.
Okay.
So we have photosystem, this is going to be photosystem 1, or 2, and this is going to be system 1. Now what's happening is you have light coming in, and it's exciting this photosystem 2. As that is getting excited, an electron is moved from, or yes, hold on. Taking in light, it allows water to break, H2O to break, and then it's going to have 2 H's, 2 hydrogens, and a half of water, or half an oxygen.
Okay.
So this is going to run this reaction to go, so the electron can go from here over to the next state. Now this next state, and once this is where it reaches its high energy state. And then as it goes through these molecules, it's losing energy.
It's losing energy.
But what's happening as it's losing energy is these hydrogen ions are moving across the membrane. The energy is being used to push these ions, or these protons across the membrane. So now, once it gets to photosystem 1, and photosystem 1, that also takes in light, right?
Yes.
Because remember how I said it takes twice, or it's going to use twice, two protons. So what it's going to do is it's going to excite this electron again, and that, once that's excited, it's going to end up using NAD plus. Isn't that what that says, NAD plus?
NAD plus. NAD P plus.
P plus. Plus the hydrogen, right?
Yes.
Plus the hydrogen. So what it's going to do is it's going to use that, and that's going to be creating NADPH, right?
Yes. One of the molecules with ATP.
One of the molecules with ATP. Now, another part that's going to happen is it's going to end up reaching the ATP synthase. The ATP synthase is an enzyme that makes ATP. So it's going to be using, it's using the energy to create NADPH, and it's using the energy to create ATP.
Oh, okay.
So now, what happens is you have the thylakoid here, right?
Yes.
Now, outside of this thylakoid, just imagine this is a thylakoid. Now, outside of this, you're going to have the Kelvin cycle going on. So we're going to go ATP is being used,
Yep.
and it's creating ADP plus PI. So it's using the energy to break down ATP, or with the breakdown in ATP, it's using that energy to keep going that cycle, through that cycle.
Okay.
Now you also have NADPH, right? Or is it P?
It's NADP.
DP plus, right?
Yes.
And that goes to NADPH. And that's going to keep running. And in between that is the Kelvin cycle here, correct?
Yes. And I think CO2 is going in and an organic molecule is coming out.
And the CO2 is going in where? Is it going in over here, up in this area? But this, I don't think it needs it, right? It's already got the energy it needs.
It has the energy it needs.
So what's happening is it's going in right here, right?
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yes.
CO2?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, what's the output here? Do you know? What's the output after the Kelvin cycle?
Is it some organic type of molecule?
It is an organic molecule. What would it need for this whole thing? What's it actually producing? What's it want to produce at the end?
Energy.
Energy. And to use that energy, so it's going a little more into the Kelvin cycle. You got the complete oxidation of glucose
Yes.
that produces energy. So we're oxidizing glucose.
We're oxidizing glucose.
And then you have carbon atoms from the CO2 are going to be fixed and used to build a 3-carbon chain.
Okay.
So what it's doing is it's taking this and building a 3-carbon chain in that cycle.
Oh, so we're just building more chains.
You're just building more chains.
Okay.
And this is all fueled by ATP and NADPH, these up here. And it's all being fueled, here's your ATP and here's your NADPH. What it's doing is breaking it up using the energy that's formed from the breaking up, from taking that phosphate off, or that hydrogen off, I mean. That electron is giving it the energy to keep going.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes,
Makes
it
sense?
makes sense.
So you have the carbon fixation, and that's where the carbon combines with an acceptor molecule. So the carbon is coming down and binding with an acceptor molecule, which is right here. And then you have reduction, ATP and NADPH is used in a 3-carbon, used to a 3-carbon sugar. And then you have regeneration. Some product will make glucose, and then others are recycled to regenerate initial acceptor molecule. So it's regenerating that initial acceptor molecule that we talked about before.
So, and it keeps it going
And
going.
it just keeps it going, and it's got its own, yeah.
Okay.
It's a very complex, but once you kind of break it down and show how these things react, and you can see how different different ways of energy are coming out to bring that cycle through.
All right. Okay.
Make sense?
That makes sense.
Any other questions?
I like plants.
You like plants.
I like plants.
Good comment. Thanks, Tim. You have a good day.
You too.